Hello and Namaskar. I'm Preeti Prakash. This election is going to go down in the history of India as the most unprecedented election, so to say, in the sense that the speeches that have been made by none other than the Prime Minister of the country, then the role of the Election Commission, or I would say no role, in fact, of the Election Commission as such, then the corporatization, of elections. Then the EVMs have always been a factor, not only in this election, even earlier elections, it has been. So there are many, many these kind of issues that have been the highlight of this election. Today, joining me is the most authentic voice of the country, the head of the Association of Democratic Reforms, Major General Anil Verma. Welcome, General Verma. Uh, I like to start.
Thank you, Pritham.
I'll first like to start by asking you, how do you see these elections in the sense that particularly when the prime minister makes divisive speeches. Earlier in the earlier elections, we've seen their ministers making divisive speeches and hate speeches, and the prime minister has been generally steering clear from all this. But this election, we see that the prime minister, whether it is his rallies or his interviews to the channels, which have been about more than 50 in this season. Seeing this kind of polarization right from the prime minister of the country, the stature of that, how do you see this election, changing or have changed in this season?
Okay, thank you, Preeti, for having me over. So, firstly, you see, this is not a new thing. Uh, Politicians have been making speeches, and if you pick up any of the ADR reports, you will find that a lot of candidates of the prominent parties have got cases registered amongst themselves for hate speeches. I mean, hate speeches are actually not being defined, but it is very clearly laid down in our Representation of People's Act that if votes are sought on the basis of religion or caste or any such thing, it is an offense. It is not to be done. And everybody knows about it, but still they do indulge in this. And now, you see, this is, I would say, these type of speeches which have been given. The biggest role in this is of the Election Commission of India to prevent people from giving these type of, because the model code of conduct is in place. And like I just mentioned, as per the Representation of People's Act, it is an offense to make these type of. And in spite of that, I mean, it has been done, uh, I would say, deliberately. And there have been conflicting statements also. On one hand, it says that would not be there in the public domain if I were to make such statements. And then the very next day, again, there is a repeat of a similar statement against a particular community of our country. And then similarly, basic other issues are that a type of fear is being sort of put into the minds of the common voter that this will happen. Imaginary fears, I think, personally, because nothing like that is going to happen. Whether you are trying to insinuate something which the opposition will do to the voters when they come to power, the talk about Mangal Sutra and Bajre ka roti ka tin and what have
भैंस
you.
भैंस ले
Hanji.
जाएंगे, टूटी खोल लेंगे.
Then distribution of the wealth of people and all that sort of thing. So, like people say, he spoke more about the manifesto of the Congress than they themselves did. So, but I would just say that it is highly avoidable, one. And secondly, coming from the Prime Minister, it's not expected. And especially in the last few speeches of his, where the words of Mujra and various other things were used, it doesn't behove a person of that stature to be speaking like this. And of course, like I said, the role of the Election Commission, I mean, they have, people, all sorts of memes are there in the social media about the Election Commission. It is quite obvious that they have not uh, I would say, been impartial in their, ticking of people. Like earlier, it used to be very clear if an offense is committed by a particular individual giving a speech or by any act, the warning or the letter of reprimand was given by name to that candidate.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, they not only gave it to the party president, they also clubbed another person and another party with it.
Yeah.
So, which shows that there is a bias in their performance. And not only us, a lot of people are very critical about the way the election commission has behaved.
So, I mean, Jill Verma, doesn't even the Supreme Court hasn't really, many people say they also haven't been playing a pretty their part, in breaking of
See,
in
I
when
know, I
violations
would
of
not,
model
I
code.
have got your question. I see the last resort for the people is what? They go to the courts. And then you expect fair play and justice.
Yeah.
But if the court also either circumvents the issue or refuses to give I would say acceptable verdict or judgment, then there are doubts created in the minds of people. But you see, they have their own reasons, they give their own justifications for the decision, whatever they pronounce. So one cannot question them, but definitely that perception has been built this time. That because a lot of people said that in certain cases, the Supreme Court or the High Court should have taken suo moto action
Yeah.
in certain cases, but it was not done. And when people went to them with PILs or other applications, they were either not heard or they were rejected.
Yeah, so I think it's time that although election commission and all are independent bodies, the constitution has given them enough powers to be a standalone body where they can take action. They also have teeth, as I've heard from so many other election commissions, which we've talked to commissioners, we've talked to. But I think now it's time, seeing the trend that election commission also should be accountable to some body so that they can be, taken to task when they are not doing their function duties.
See, if you recall, ADR had filed a petition in this regard regarding the selection procedure and the of the election commissioners, which was heard. And then in that, the Supreme Court had suggested that till such time a law is made in this regard, because there was no law existing regarding the selection procedure, etc., since independence. They had said that, okay, the selection committee would, in addition to the prime minister and the leader of the opposition, would also have the chief justice of the Supreme Court.
Mm.
Soon after, the government came up with a bill and it was passed in the parliament, in which in the selection committee, the chief justice of the Supreme Court was removed, and there was the prime minister was to appoint another cabinet minister in the selection committee. And that is how this present election commissioners, two of them, were appointed. And we are also aware that one resigned and the reasons are not known. And the other one, as a matter of fact, the same person was also appointed within 24 hours when he was appointed, the
Mm.
person who resigned.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of questions raised even on that, at the procedure and the whole way the whole thing was done. And therefore, Uh, coming back to the question which you had specifically asked. Now, in that, if you read carefully the act which has been made, there is a small note which has been put, which people are not aware of. Otherwise, you won't have asked that question. They have full immunity
Mm.
against any type of action against the election commissioners.
Mm.
So you can do nothing about it.
Mm. So that's why I say, I mean, now it's time, when as the discourse level is going down and down, it's time, I think, they need to.
But what can you do when these constitutional bodies are planted or with people
Yeah,
who have their leanings towards the ruling dispensation? I am not saying tomorrow if some other government in some other state or some other place comes, the bureaucrats may turn towards that particular
yeah,
dispensation.
yeah,
So it's a question of uh, whoever the people are, whether it is in the election commission or in the other constitutional body like the CAG or others, they have to be upright and do the right thing. It is simple as that, as they are constitutionally mandated to do. And
yeah,
the sort of when it is something like when the government and the ministers are sworn in, they take a oath
both.
on the constitution to present. But who bothers
Absolutely.
later on?
Mm. Yeah, you're right. Now, electoral bond has been a big issue before in the run up to the elections, and it's considered to be a huge scam of this government. What are your views on it?
See, ADR had filed this case because the moment this electoral bond scheme was introduced, uh, we knew that it is not going to be a good thing.
Transparent thing.
And and the way, and everybody criticized it at that time also, the Reserve Bank of India, the Election Commission of India, and various other people. But still, it was pushed through and it was brought in. And now, when it was not being heard and we had filed six petition applications for a hearing, finally, anyway, it was heard and then the bill. As a matter of fact, the judges went beyond our demand. We had not asked who got money and which party got how much and who donated and all that. We had not asked that. We had simply said that this scheme should be scrapped because of the transparency factor, and that the public has the right to know who is donating to the political parties. So that, of course, was done by the Supreme Court. It declared the thing unconstitutional, but they went a step ahead, and then they also asked them. And then you saw how the whole thing went.
Yeah,
The State Bank of India tried to deflect it, and then after a lot of pushing and prodding, finally they gave the list, and which in a matter of 24 hours there were a lot of people who were interested. They deciphered it and they put two and two together and they came out with various lists. And
mm,
as it is evident from, I mean, it is now old, this thing now. There were so many things which came up. There were, and this is what we had said also in our petition also, that there will be shell companies, there will be black money converted into white. We do not even know whether the money is coming from abroad through, various
yeah,
routing. People say it was through the State Bank and all that. But everybody knows about the shell companies, etc., etc. So, so many stories have come out in the media in the aftermath of the judgment, wherein the companies were set up just a few months before, and they didn't have any proper this thing. There was no profit. They were loss making, some of them. Then there were these quid pro quo allegations, wherein it was established that some company was raided, and then after that they gave so much of purchased so many electoral bonds, and then they got a contract worth 10 times or 100 times more the cost of the electoral bonds which were purchased and all that.
yeah,
So the point is that all the ruling political parties, I'm mentioning because in the center as well as the states, they also got money from the electoral bonds. And at the state level also, I'm sure they also benefited in the same manner. So the point which comes out is that, and then there was that thing of the medicines and the drugs and all,
yeah,
wherein spurious drugs and various other things, the electoral bonds were purchased, and then the approval was given by the concerned authorities within a few days, and so on and so forth.
mm,
So it is quite obvious that there was, a scam involved in this thing. But the point is, the finance minister outgoing government has already said that when they come back to power, they will again rejig the electoral bond scheme and
Yes.
try to improve upon it. Now,
Mm.
what they will do, we will wait and see. Uh, but certainly, as long as this judgment is there, they cannot hide the identity of the donors.
Mm.
So, and they have been saying after the judgment that we will be going back to suitcases full of cash and all that. So let us see what they propose to do now,
Mm.
how to improve the whole thing. And there is no denying the fact that we have been saying all along, it is not that the black money culture stopped with the electoral bond. It was still going on. We
Mm.
still found caches, I mean, so many raids and all that, and they found mountains of cash in various politicians, this thing. So it is a big challenge, and let's see how they tackle whichever the government forms.
Yeah, and the Prime Minister has already said that tempo भर के uh, पैसा जा रहा है Congress
Yeah.
को. So surely there is a lot of corruption out there of the siphoning of the black money and the making to white, you know. Okay. My next question is that there are a lot of earlier also there have been complaints about these EVMs not functioning properly or getting rigged, or this election also we are finding a lot of complaints like these. Are you addressing, or you doing something to get things sorted out in this matter?
The EVM's complaints have always been there, as you are aware, from time immemorial.
Yeah.
The ruling dispensation had also cribbed about it when they were not in power and they were a small party. And there was a book written by Mr. Narasimha Rao, and it has a forward written by the Bharat Ratna L.K. Advani. So you see, this cribbing and accusing about the EVM has been going on for long.
Yeah.
But over the last few years, there have been a lot of doubts raised in the minds of people about the way the election results are coming. And that is why people have, I mean, it has raised a lot of this thing, and people have gone to court, etc. So we had filed ADR had filed a petition about the matching of the VVPATs. We had said that 100%, because this VVPAT thing also came about after the Subramaniam Swamy judgment of the Supreme Court, wherein they said, okay, let us introduce VVPATs. So initially there was a small number, then the election commission said we need X amount of money to make so many VVPATs, etc. So that money was allotted after a few years, and then more VVPATs were made. And then finally, and in another case, the politicians, again, I think it was the TDP party which had filed a case, and then they said that more number of VVPATs should be matched. So then the Supreme Court gave a ruling that okay, 5% in
Hmm.
a constituency can be matched. Now, the issue was with all this suspicion about the whole thing. So there was a demand that why not match 100% VVPATs
Absolutely.
with the event, so that basic thing is that the voter knows. You see, there are those two, three principles. One is that you know that the vote has gone to the person to whom you have
What?
selected, or which button you have pressed.
Hmm.
The second thing is that it is counted as recorded.
Hmm.
Second thing is that it should be recorded correctly. And the third thing is it should be counted as recorded.
Yeah.
So there are three principles involved in this whole thing, which we had put up in our application, which was of course disposed of by the Supreme Court in the hearings, because they said it's during the elections, and we will not give a this thing. The suspicion is being created and all that sort of thing, and we can't do things on basis of suspicion, etc., etc. But in that, of course, they gave one odd thing which they said, that the symbol loading unit connected to the VVPATs will be stored for 45 days after the counting of results. And candidates who come second or third, they have right to ask for verification of the burnt memory semi-controller units in 5% of the EVMs in every assembly segment of the parliamentary constituency. So
Hmm.
this has to be done within 7 days,
Hmm.
and you have to pay the cost. If the there is supposed if they found that there is some mismatch, then the money will be refunded to the this thing. So
Hmm.
now this is the only thing which they committed. Otherwise, they said, no, there's no need to, you see, the thing is, the election commission has always been certifying that the EVMs cannot be hacked.
Hmm.
But all other technical people say it can be hacked.
Yeah.
So that is where it lies. And this is the current situation as of now. So people say that you can't go back to the ballot system, etc., etc. So even though the other democracies in Europe and in USA, they have gone back to the ballot paper. But that has not been accepted. So that is where we stand.
Now, my another question to would to you would be, what would be your suggestions, for a fair and free elections going forward from here?
See, actually, Preeti, in that there are a lot of things involved. It is not just about, the malpractices which are adopted by the candidates or the political parties during the elections.
Hmm.
There are a number of other things which have to be done prior to the elections. There are so many electoral reforms which not only the civil society, but the various committees and commissions which have been set up, they have suggested that, for free and fair elections, because it's a very wide subject. It covers anything from the political funding,
Yeah.
you know, to the type of uh, candidates who are selected by the political parties. You have seen what is the state now. I mean, the ADR reports, the candidates with criminality this
Criminal
just
record.
rising every time
Yeah.
by 3 to 4 to 5%.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, the institutions which are charged with conducting elections in
Hmm.
any way, be it the election commission itself, be it the police, or be it the bureaucracy, all the people who are involved. Because you have seen in these current, and incidentally, these were I think, the longest elections ever held.
Hmm.
Firstly, they can be reduced. It need not be so long.
Time
That is
card.
one. The other thing is that if the people who do not discharge their duties honestly,
Hmm.
then what can you do?
Yeah.
Now these booth capturing, etc., people voting and video being made of one person voting 8 times. I mean,
It
what is
can.
the booth officials doing?
Hmm.
So what can these people sitting in the CEO of a particular state or the three election commissioners sitting in Delhi do about this? It is the ground level people also who have to play their role honestly and as per the constitution. There have been so many cases of complaints like this. One I saw that the policemen in Haryana are complaining that because when they are on duty, polling duty, they are supposed to cast their vote by postal ballot. And
Yeah.
they have said, a group of them, that our postal ballot, they said, ki sign karke de do and deposit it in the SP's office.
Oh, yeah.
So these type of things are going on. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that the people who are supposed to conduct the elections, if they are also compromised and they are going towards a particular party, I'm not saying central. I mean, in the state, it may be the state party which is the government there.
Yeah.
And today also you are hearing things of booth capturing, and then there was that famous incident of one MLA walking in, picking up the EVM and just throwing it on the ground. And
Yeah.
he did that in 2, 3 other booths also because they thought he's losing or something like that. So
Hmm.
how can this type of thing be allowed?
Hmm.
You see, and of course, at the highest level, like I said, the model code of conduct, whether it is being, properly being followed by the political parties and the candidate. Is the election commission quick in their reactions to malpractices which occurred during the elections? You know,
Hmm.
so all these things are there. So free and fair elections have to be there. but it requires coordinated efforts from the election commission, their officials, the political parties, and everybody, and of course I would say the common voter also. I
Yeah.
mean, if they also indulge in all sorts of things, it becomes a very challenging thing.
Although ours is said to be the biggest electoral machinery in the entire world, and election commissioners have earlier ones have been saying that they are the better side, the positive side of the of election commission should also be seen. You know that conducting an election in such a big country is a massive job, and small little things do can appear here and there.
No, I
These
agree.
things
I agree with
protect, yeah,
that. It is the biggest exercise done in the whole world.
in the
And they have been doing an admirable job about it. There is no doubt about that.
mm,
They have been doing it.
mm,
But you see, it is these cases of implementation of the model code of conduct
yeah,
and,
mm,
controlling violence and ensuring that there is fair play and free and fair election. There is a level playing field for everybody. These
absolutely,
are the things which they have to ensure. It is not just that is an administrative exercise. It is
yeah,
a logistics exercise.
yeah,
Fine, they are doing that well. But these are the things which matter.
yeah,
These are the things which can swing the results this way or that way.
absolutely,
The electoral rolls. You go to the polling booth and you find that out of the family of three, one person's name is missing.
is missing. This time, too many were missing. Even last time,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's what I'm trying to say. These type of things are happening, and like there was a case of this lady who went hunting after them. How is my name not there?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
she's gone after them, and uh, I mean, that type of thing is required. How can somebody else file an application and say Preeti's name should be removed, and it is removed?
yeah, absolutely. I
So
think that comes at the district level. What level does it come? This removing of
this
name can be done
this
by
is I don't know really at what level it is. I suppose done by these district
election
level
commission level.
people, DEOs, I think,
Uh,
because such large scale numbers are removed,
yeah,
and sometimes some particular communities' names are removed.
yeah,
So, so then the election is over even before casting of the vote.
yes, yes. So yeah, there are many. I mean, with such a big exercise. There may be many, but again, I think the bottom line is that the top body, the election commission, should be a non-biased and actually a transparent and a free play. There shouldn't be any tilts to a party. But the entire
Absolutely.
the biggest misfortune is that we can see this time, particularly, is that people have been got in with certain tilts. And I think as for that, they're doing a great job. Not speaking and, not sending messages to wrong people, wrong time, and then, not taking action. And I think the entire world is watching about this.
And
Indian,
the biggest thing was not publicizing the absolute voter count,
absolute 17
on
C.
which again ADR went to the court, and then again, then you see the best part is that they vehemently opposed everything, and they said again ADR is trying to create suspicion in the minds of people, etc., and all that, castigating us in the not only in their affidavit but in the court also,
Mm-hmm.
and then and giving 100 reasons as to why it cannot be done, and then after the fourth or fifth phase, then they publish it on their own,
Absolutely, yeah.
which
So
was being done earlier.
yeah, so
So
that,
suddenly, what has happened?
yeah.
Why the delay? So you see, all these things create suspicion in the minds of people.
Plus that electoral bond thing also, I mean, that's also very clear in front of the people also. The moment the Supreme Court says, it comes out. Otherwise, you say we need 6 months for that. So, well, I think you and me know it very well, and I think the entire Indian populace also know it everywhere. Now, these days, villages also, people are pretty aware of what's happening where. So, I just hope that we have free and fair elections in future, and that at least higher people like the Prime Minister and all, keep up their grace um, in their speeches and their interviews. Thank you so much, Janil Verma, for talking to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Preeti.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.